97.5.
Well,
I didn't do it that time.
what?
Because we got guests in the studio.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want to be unprofessional.
Billy Corgan's in the studio. What's up, Billy?
Good morning.
Welcome to Clarksville.
Yes,
You excited about this pop-up event?
I am. I am. I'm excited to work with Tried and True, and we're trying to do new things with the NWA, and this is a first for us as far as trying to work with another promotion, and it's great. Sales have been very strong, and people seem to be excited about the show. So that's all we can ask for.
That's fantastic. And next to you is the world champ of NWA. Is that the right way to phrase that?
NWA World's Champion.
You have a gigantic belt next to you,
This
so
is
it's
the 10 pounds of gold.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
The oldest and most iconic world title in
That's like
wrestling history.
history sitting on our counter right now.
You're getting a wrestling boner right now just thinking about it.
I mean,
Well, as a fan, anytime you're connected to the lineage of Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair, that's something.
Yeah. Are you from the Chicago area? You
Yeah,
still
born
live there?
and raised. Yeah,
still live there?
Still live there, unfortunately.
Really? Were you a big time wrestling fan growing up?
Oh yeah. We had. I didn't realize because I was just a little kid, but I had the advantage of seeing what was going on in Chicago. But then we would also get stuff from Minneapolis with the Ganyas, and then also when cable kicked in the early '80s, then we'd get the stuff from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't realize I was sort of seeing everybody kind of at their prime and their peak. What is this incredible era of wrestling? All I know was that was what was on Saturday morning.
Right.
So I'd watch that, and it certainly influenced the way I look at the business.
And you've always just been into wrestling ever since?
No. When I got all goth and weird, I thought, well,
You're a vampire.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it paid well. No, I did the classic thing like, oh, I'm all spooky now, so I don't watch baseball anymore. I don't watch wrestling anymore. I actually sold all my heavy metal records for pennies on a dollar. I thought I'll never be that guy anymore. And then about 10 years later, it all kind of came creeping back out.
Oh, man. So did you... when you came back to, were you thinking, okay, I went through this great musical career. I have all this money now. I want to own something. Was that your thought process?
No, it was kind of strange. I remember one night I was up really late, about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I came across a promotion which I knew nothing about called ECW, which is legendary in the business now. And I thought, wow, this is really strange. Like, what is this crazy wrestling I'm watching? It felt counterculture in the way that grunge was sort of counterculture to rock music. Mm. And then I found myself watching, Stone Cold and The Rock during what they call the Attitude Era. And so they were coming to town. I thought, I'll go to a show. I went to a show. I got to meet the guys behind the scenes. They were smart, cool people, who knew that, like, the guy I'm talking to was going to be the biggest movie star in the world one day. And,
right.
I didn't realize. I just, as far as I'm just hanging backstage talking to these guys, became friends with some of those people. Then I went to some ECW shows, became friends with some of those people, and they started telling me about the business. And I found the business really fascinating. In many ways, I thought the wrestling business was what the rock business used to be. Mm-hmm. As the rock business became more and more commercial and more predictable, wrestling still retains its sort of outlaw status. So I found myself attracted to the outlaw status of wrestling, where to me, being in the rock business was getting more and more boring. And I would complain about that, and people would just tell me, be quiet, because
shut up.
We like the way things are going. And of course, it is what it is now, and I'm fine with it. But at the time, that's what it felt like to me.
I gotcha.
That's actually pretty interesting that you compared them that way, because I wanted to ask you about the differences, the similarities and differences between traveling the road for music and traveling the road for wrestling. I mean, what is, like, if you could compare, contrast the two, what is it like?
Honestly, not a lot of difference. I mean, I always think of the Little Rascals. It's like everyone just gets together and puts on a show, and depending on what level you're at, there's the machinations of that. Mm-hmm. Wrestling, by and large, is there's a lot of things that have to happen behind the scenes for it to go right. It's a lot of moving pieces, people coming from all over the country, in some cases the world. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes on, and so it's not as maybe shiny. What you put out in the ring isn't as shiny. As Anthony here can tell you, it's like it's a lot of hard work that goes to putting on a wrestling show.
Yeah.
And I think I come in, because I came up through the ranks of driving around in a van. I have great appreciation for what it takes to put on a show.
Right.
I don't have any kind of starry-eyed ideas about what show business is. My father was a musician. I kind of grew up in the business, so there is the show, and then there's what happens behind the scenes. And ultimately, I find that what happens behind the scenes sort of be more interesting.
What does your family think of the wrestling business?
A lot of people think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I've gotten in arguments from everyone from Jerry Seinfeld on down about why wrestling, in quotations. WWE just signed a multi-billion-dollar contract. UFC, was sold for $2 million, and now was sold for $4.2 billion. And I'm a UFC fan, but UFC's part of their business model is to do wrestling. Is to create that kind of heat. The fact that it is what it is in terms of the combat is different, but the art of promotion is very much the same. And Dana White is a wrestling fan, so. I think wrestling's hold in the culture is very, very strong, and I think as it legitimizes itself as a true part of the entertainment business, I think we're entering into a new era where it'll be viewed less as sort of lowbrow culture and more as it'll be up there with the circus and monster trucks and everything else as something that comes to town and gives people something to do and is a great night of family entertainment.
Billy Corgan's in the studio with us right now. Did you ever want to become a wrestler?
No.
Really?
No. I had no interest, no.
I was imagining you be like, all right, now I've got control of this. I'm going to pull some strings.
No, actually, I don't necessarily even like being in the ring at all.
Really?
It's really for the professionals, yeah. I'll do it sometimes for storyline reasons or promotional reasons, but for the most part, no, I really appreciate the art. I mean, you're sitting next to one of the best wrestlers in the world, and there's a reason he's the champion. No, it's the craft, the art, the dedication is unbelievable.
So the love
I don't have that is what I'm trying to say.
I understand.
The love that you have for the business and just hearing you talk about it and being a fellow fan, I can tell that you're not just some guy that's just like, oh, whatever. Yeah, I watched wrestling a few times. Is that kind of what gave you the idea to kind of spearhead the resurgence of the NWA and bringing it back to the prominence that it had?
Sure. Well, quick story. I worked in the Indies for a while. I thought I was out of the wrestling business. I got a call from Dixie Carter, who was the owner of TNA Wrestling at the time, asked me to come in and start working, which is how I ended up working with the vice president of NWA, Dave Lagana, who's in the room with us. And then for a while I ran TNA, invested a bunch of my money, and for a second I thought I was going to be sort of running the second biggest company in America, and you could argue even the world at that time. So when I was the lawsuits, I ended up getting fired and all this kind of crazy gossipy stuff. I had to sit there and think, do I really want to go round 3 with the wrestling business? And the opportunity came up to buy the NWA, which at various times was owned by anywhere from 20 people to 40 people. The idea that it could be owned by one person, in this case me, was sort of intriguing. And when we really sat down and looked at it, the idea of owning a brand that many fans are still very familiar with and has this incredible history versus, let's call it Billy Corgan Wrestling or something. The historical aspect really intrigued me because there are a lot, just like there are in music, there's a lot of movements in wrestling that say the old ways don't work anymore. I don't believe that. I think what is good is always going to be good. And I think there's a lot of fans out there, particularly when WCW folded, that walked away from this let's call it the NWA Southern type of style of wrestling, because to them that version of wrestling doesn't exist anymore in the culture. So we're not only trying to bring that back, but update that. And I think the response we've seen from fans. And when you watch, we had a live event, and when you watch kids from 10 years old up to grandma that's 70, and everybody enjoys what they're seeing in the ring, that tells me that there's a lot of growth there.
Right.
Many people, I'm trying not to ramble. What I'm trying to say is, many people believe that wrestling is a niche business. I completely disagree. That's like telling me rock and roll is a niche business. Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys were playing AC/DC as we were sitting here, waiting to be interviewed. AC/DC used to be this small band from Australia, and now they sell out stadiums. There's a reason that people will adhere to something because it's sort of classic. So there's an answer in there somewhere.
Gotcha. But Mo was talking earlier about Nick Aldis here.
Yes,
and about some old school matches.
I was just talking about. Well, first off, I watched him wrestle for quite a while, but I was talking about the match in particular with Cody Rhodes, and
which one?
How people would consider that both of those matches would be 5-star level matches. And that's kind of what people have come to expect when they see you walk into the ring. So I wanted to know, are you expecting that high level, high intensity match against James Storm tomorrow?
100%. You would never, certainly not as the world champion, but really if you take pride in what you do at any level, with the exception of extenuating circumstances, that had a greater trajectory for the actual business of wrestling, you would never go into a match not wanting to get absolutely everything you could out of your time and try to blow everyone away. Like, that's your job. Yes, certain wrestlers have certain responsibilities based on like their spot on the card or who's pulling the wagon financially and stuff like that. But ultimately, you're going to go out there and make sure, especially, I mean, for me, especially if I see kids in the audience, like, because I know that this might be that one opportunity to like ingrain myself in that kid's memory forever, and then like that's cultivating your business going forward as an athlete, especially when because you do more of this for less money when you start out. And the idea is that you want to be able to get to a point where you make as much as you can for one night and, and be able to sort of call your own shots that way. That's the business we're in. So the best way for me to do that is to create these unforgettable moments where people go, man, like that match in Chicago you had with Cody, or that match in Nashville, whatever. Because now I don't have to I can sort of pick and choose what I want to do and, be more of a businessman, because, we all have a certain amount of bumps on our bump card is a phrase that we use, because at some point your body's going to give up and, you're going to have to cash out.
Right. Well, you are in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And
James Storm.
Many people would consider you, even though you're the one walking in with the
10 pounds of gold.
With the 10 pounds of gold, people would consider you being the underdog.
Who are these many people?
Just Tennesseans, not me.
Just
not
many,
me in particular.
Many is one of those sort of bleeding heart, like kind of wrestling fan things that people use, like these unquantifiable metrics, because people are afraid to just give their own opinion. So then they hide behind these metrics that are unquantifiable, like, everybody knows that, this person is the best wrestler. Many people believe that you're an underdog. Where has James Storm been? Where was the last time you saw James Storm wrestle?
Chugging a beer somewhere,
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I saw him wrestle like not too long ago.
What do you remember about the match?
I remember. That
Did he have any matches last year? Did he have any matches last year that defined the year? Any moments?
Ooh.
Did he have a run that, in many people's opinions, including my own, defined 2018 for professional wrestling?
See, let me jump in here. This is what makes it interesting to me as the promoter on this match. I've had serious personal issues with James Storm, particularly when I was at TNA, and I had to really think twice about booking him in this match. Number one, the idea of James Storm as a world champion, NWA World Champion, that gives me a little bit of pause.
No.
But that's what makes a good promotion, right? There's the sort of wonder, the what if factor. On top of that, in terms of free agents that are out there, James Storm is probably the talented or the most talented guy sitting there that's not currently signed. So it's a marquee matchup that we're bringing to Clarksville in this first NWA pop-up. And that's what sort of attracts me. And that's where I have to put up aside my own personal differences with the Cowboy. And I've gone many around with the Cowboy. I mean, he once said on national television, "I'm going to smash your head like a pumpkin." Okay? So I got some serious issues with Mr. Storm. Because, I mean, talk about some low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean?
And here's another interesting point about this. That I was the one who suggested James Storm as my opponent for this show. Because I'm the world's champion. I call my own shots. Do you understand? This is not like any wrestling that you've ever been exposed to before. Like this, we approach this way more like a prize fighter type of promotion, in the sense that I go, what about this guy to wrestle me in this place? Because I know that it's going to be good for business, right? Because I'm not going to be concerned that people want him to win. I want people to want him to win. That's the business we're in, And if I thought for 1 second that he had no chance whatsoever of taking the title from me, I wouldn't have gone for it, because if I know that, then I know the fans know that. So no one's taking anything away from his ability. You're talking about a former world champion himself, and he's been around the block, and he and I have tangled many a time. The story's different this time, because this time he's looking up at me.
Ooh.
I like that. Text TNT to 77,000. Get the link for tickets to your phone. Tickets are still available, right, Crimson?
Yeah, very few left of VIPs, literally like 3 left VIP online. We may open some up at the door, but plenty of GA, plenty of unique meet and greet experiences still available on. Just text the link, 77,000 to TNT, man. Get all the info.
There you go. Billy, one last question for you. I was at the barbershop yesterday. By the way, they said if you needed a haircut, on the house, and they started talking about you, and somebody said that you...
I feel like I'm set up here.
You kind of are.
I gotta brace
He looked at me like, are you in on this too? I'm like,
let me put my hat back on.
They said that you have a cousin in Hopkinsville. Is that yes or BS on that?
My grandmother was born in Hopkinsville.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, legit.
So do you have anyone in Hopkinsville currently?
No, I'm sure there are relatives. My family kind of went 7 different directions because at some point my grandmother was born in 1911. She passed away at 102 a few years ago. So she moved to Southern Illinois when she was 11 years old. So when that family went that way, that other end of the family went the other way. So I'm sure I have relatives there, but I don't know anybody. But I would love to meet them if they want to find me.
Oh, they're going to be coming to the show tomorrow.
Oh, man.
Hey,
Hey, I'm his cousin. Let me in. I'm his cousin.
Hey, are you my cousin?
All right, we're going to give away 4 pairs of tickets. Mo has to read some gaudy disclaimer before we do, unfortunately.
Yes, because we're trying to follow rules now, you guys, because Tiffany's back, so we got to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read this stuff for you.
Yeah.
Come on.
Listen to Z97.5 Friday, January 4th to win a pair of tickets to TNT Pro's New Year's Clash. Callers 1 through 4 at 931-431-0975 will win a pair of tickets valued at $30.
Very good.
Official.
That was beautiful.
Is that the legal way to do it?
Yeah. That's the legal way.
And if you're my cousin, come to the show.
You get in free.
I'll get you in for free, and
Bring
I
your
got
birth
a pocket full of money to share with all my cousins.
There you go. 931-431-0975. We'll take the first 4 callers. You'll get a pair of tickets each for NWA's pop-up event tomorrow with Tried and True Pro Wrestling. There's just so much stuff to mention. Honestly, if you just text TNT to 77,000 for all the details, you can get it there. Tonight, big time meet and greet opportunity with Billy. David Arquette's going to be there, right?
Yeah, David Arquette will be there at the pre-show event tonight at the Pinnacle.
Okay.
Official NWA pop-up press conference. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a big deal. This event is going to be huge, large scale. We're changing things. Production level's gone up. You don't want to miss this event all around. This weekend is going to be huge.
There you go. Billy, appreciate your time.
The hair versus hair, since you're going to go after my hair.
Yeah.
Maybe you and me. Oh, I can't.
Someone's
going to
get their, someone's getting their head shaved bald.
Beard
versus beard. I was going to say.
I've already pissed off somebody else about their fake guitar. So I don't want to go in on it. You know Jeff Jarrett. Yeah.
I think he's still waiting for that cage match.
He did, but he's going to have to wait. Obviously,
He's going to have to wait a little longer on that.
Yeah, so definitely.
David Arquette versus Josephus, hair versus hair.
Man, that's going to be awesome.
David Arquette in Clarksville. Wrestling.
I will cry for Josephus if he has to shave his head. I mean, that's a beautiful set of hair he's got there.
He's got a nice mane.
Yeah, he does. Sure. All right, guys. I appreciate your time for coming in.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
See everyone tonight and tomorrow.
There you go. 931-431-0975. First 4 callers will win tickets to tomorrow night's event at the Wilma Rudolph Event Center.
The 5 a.m. salute happens weekday morning.